Good day, everyone. It's Meredith Leon McCormick for World Bride Magazine. And we want to thank you guys for coming to another segment to learn more about our wonderful industry. As we enter into the fall wedding season, we have so many things going on, but while things are still up in the air as far as the pandemic is concerned, we still want you to know that there are professionals out there that are really trying to make things happen for you for your special day. So today I have the honor of talking to David Fletcher. David Fletcher has become a dear friend, a performer, and a colleague in the wedding industry. So David, can you please tell us the name of your company and what you have been doing for the past years?
Never ask an older person what they've been doing unless you want the answer. So the company is New York, Washington's best musicians photo video. We started in Washington in 1987, and we started in New York in 2011. So we've been in Washington longer than we have been in New York, but we function in both markets, providing musicians, photographers, and videographers for weddings, and I'm personally a musician. Now, in response to your other question, how I filled my first decades of life. So in my 20s and 30s, I was in academia. I studied history, I taught history for a while, and then I decided I really wanted to be a music teacher. And I went back to school to be a music teacher and became a band director, and then I ended up being the director of music at Georgetown University. So that was in my 30s. Later on in life, we started the company in DC to provide musicians for events, because I just love to do that. And I think I still miss being a music teacher, because getting people together to do music, especially kids, gives me great joy.
Oh, nice.
But it also gives me great joy when I see our wedding clients, appreciate live music and what it can be, and the kind of mood that it can create for their special day.
Right. Wow. Music has such an impact on people in their lives. I always find it interesting. When we as human beings, regular mortals, not like you, have to express ourselves, we tend to do it through music and the arts. So it's lovely to see that I'm talking to someone that has history with it and has a passion for it. So my first question to you is, how have you been able to pivot through the challenges of the pandemic, when we weren't allowed to get together? How have you been able to do that?
Well, by hibernating. Yes. So when it was shut down, we were really shut down, because everything I do is a super spreader. I get people to sing together, and you can't do that. And I like to get people dancing and sweating together, and you can't do that. So yes, we were completely shut down. We as an organization decided to return any and all deposits, so that clients didn't suffer any kind of loss. Many weddings were postponed or reduced in size. Many weddings didn't happen, or they happened in Las Vegas, where all weddings should happen. So we personally did okay. I think musicians and other people many people are, if you're sort of an introvert and self-directed, you don't, I personally didn't really miss crowds. And I know that sounds odd from somebody who works with crowds, but I didn't miss there being crowds of people. I certainly missed doing the music. Now, we did two things. One is that because many musicians are not eligible for the PPE, aid, we just started paying people.
Wow.
So we devoted a budget of a couple of $1,000s a month. We just paid people to go play in the parks.
Wow.
We would have paid people to go play in nursing homes. We couldn't do that either.
Wow.
But just to help some people pay the rent and get through this time, we did that. It was a time to kind of build some other stuff. I worked on, I do theater too. I think I mentioned I direct musicals. And so we were hired a couple of times to do virtual musicals, where we created soundtracks for people. But, the good news is the weddings are just returning. I just did one, Saturday, so they're coming back. Life is going to be wonderful again.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go to the Met Opera to see Boris. So it was really amazing just to be in the space and at Lincoln Center. And they took so much precaution. We had to wear masks the whole time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the seats were separated from everyone. So but it felt phenomenal to be in a room with people, with human beings, but just to see the performers on stage and bring life to story, and to hear the music, and to see of the little bit that we could of the orchestra just
Mhm.
playing. It was just wonderful. And so I feel for you, and I think it's such an honorable thing that you were able to do, is to help the musicians by helping them sustain themselves, but yet you kept their sanity by letting you help them keep
Well,
it.
I'm not sure about that.
Well,
But
because when you can't do what you love, it does have an impact on you mentally, emotionally. So it wasn't just about the financial situation. And it's just, this is where so many people find solace in, is in music and the arts and what they do, and not to be able to do it. And then here you are, you decided that you want to give back to your community, which is very important. So.
well, sure. I think the opportunity is kind of like a big timeout for everybody. You know how kids sometimes need a timeout, um, and this is sort of a timeout for everybody. And I think there are a lot of opportunities in that timeout to reflect on what is valuable. You know, what's important in your life. You know, how do you spend your time? Do you have time for petty stuff? You know, as things are changing around you. So I think there's a great opportunity for people to become better people.
Right.
I'm not sure I did. I think I just got older, but I think but
You're
I
not
think
older. I'm sure this thing aged every single one of us. So how would the average consumer, the bride, or because you don't just do weddings, so I want to make that clear to whoever is watching out there. You're not only performing for weddings, you do events, so corporate events and other soirees that people might have, private events. I know we had the honor of working with you at the Intercontinental when Yemi was celebrating his last couple of days at the Intercontinental. And it was just so much fun to hear the music and live music. And you saw the people clapping their hands and tapping their feet to it, even though they couldn't dance.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
so how does one go about booking you for these events?
Well, you know, it's fun to share because musicians are so desperate for gigs. We'll work for a free sandwich.
They will not.
Well, not. We try to make it easy, you know, and we try to make it stress free, and we try to assure people that as much as I like money, and I do, if we're not the right person, we can help them find the right person. I mean, a great example is we'll often get a request from somebody who hears about us for something way out of town, like in some other state, and sure we can on occasion travel if it's good for the client.
Right,
But so many things can be found locally. You know, your local church has an organist. Your local college has graduate music students. There's a local music store who would be able to provide people that would do a great job for much less the price. So we try to make it approachable and easy, and we try to reassure people, as I mentioned before, that despite what it says in our contract, we gave all the deposits back. So what we've had to really become is very, very careful and say to people, look, things can change. If they do, give your money back and do something else. And I think that should reassure people. But the other question, yes, we also do corporate events. I mentioned that the band I started 35 years ago played 7 inaugurations.
wow.
And that band's still together. In fact, we just played another wedding. Of course, now we're older. So we do parties and things. I must say I really like weddings. I just think they're joyous.
Right,
I
right,
think corporate stuff can pay well. It's in many ways easier because no one really cares if they dance or they don't want them to.
right,
Um, and certainly corporate clients have a lot of experience hiring bands. So in
right.
some ways, a consumer that hires a lot of bands it can be easier than someone hires at one time, but it's less joyous.
Right, right. Because it's
You know,
you're just probably more background um, for the space and for entertainment to keep things light and lively. Whereas for a wedding, they depend on you to get the crowd going, to get the crowd moving, to motivate them, and to remind them that this is a very festive occasion and it's a celebration of life, love, and relationship and everything that comes with it.
Sure, you're right. Very often in a corporate thing, they don't care what you do as long as they can't hear you. I've often thought I could play the same song for an hour, and as long as it wasn't too loud, no one would complain. And then what's funny is with dances, as sort of, relationships have evolved in the corporate world,
Right.
They become more concerned that people actually do dance. They don't want people to dance together because that leads to problems with HR at the
Oh,
end of the
yeah.
quarter.
Wow.
So that's kind of
All the tea.
we
That's
spoil all
another episode.
that's funny.
Uh, well, David, this has been so much fun, and I can't wait to share with our readers some of your beautiful work because I do have some photos. And so I want to know, are there any tips that you want to give our viewers and our readers before we say goodbye to you?
Well, in terms of music, we always tell people to interview the band leader to make sure he's not crazy. You know? And then you think, I'm
Aren't they
kidding.
all crazy at some point?
Yeah, a little bit. And I guess I'd say that a personal conversation, as much as people hate the phone or Zoom, we really like to talk to clients before we play their wedding because we want to get to know them and we want them to feel comfortable with us. And I think these days with the internet, people are tend to be over reliant on ads and things that don't really tell you anything. They just tell you it's a cool ad.
Right.
And you got to start somewhere. But I think when you're planning a wedding, it's an opportunity to talk to a lot of different people about what they do as we're talking today. And I think that reduces the stress because you get to
Right.
know people and you like to get to know people. And if you get to know people, they become your friend by the time their event rolls around.
Right.
So, yes, and our website in Washington is washbest.com. That'll scream across the street. And in New York, it's newyorksbest.nyc. That's our website. So we'd love to talk to everybody.
Wonderful. One last thing I did forget to ask you about, and I think it's really important because you mentioned you guys do photo and video as well. So that means you're almost like a one-stop shop when it comes to this kind of entertainment, both performing and capturing it. So is it the same process? You vet out your vendors that are going to be part of your team, and then you present them to the couple that's hiring you? Is this the same process?
Sort of with video. I don't mean to go too long here. We found that musicians made really good videographers because they listen. And we found that musicians have a sense of timing and they're listening. And a lot of people, I'm not bashing other people in the industry, but some people that only have the visual are looking for color and light and content of the photo, but they're not listening to what's actually going on.
Interesting.
There can be a disconnect. We film bands all the time, and you have a videographer that doesn't listen during the sax solo. He's got the video on the drummer because he's not absorbing what's really going on, in the room. So we found that musicians did a really good job of that. I mean, we came with a really affordable option, one camera shoot, just done right the first time.
Right.
Which is very different than the more cinematographic, I'm saying that wrong, a more cinema approach, which people do and are great. I mean, there are videographers that put together really mini movies. We don't do that. We capture the event and give it to you. And the same is kind of true of photography. We came up with these, well, not to be blatantly commercial, but our videography is $500.
Wow. Really?
So, yeah, and people like it. It's because we're doing, what they kind of want, which is unobtrusive, somebody just capturing it without lights and smoke and all that stuff. So that's a whole nother issue. The topic of another phone call.
No, that was good. We just wanted to touch
Right.
on that because you did mention it in your title, and we wanted people to at least be curious enough to call you up about it and ask you some questions. So again, thank you so much, David. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to another one of your great soirees where we can listen to great music and not be just the background. We want to hear and we want to dance.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you. So there you have it, David Fletcher, and I promise you it is going to be worth your time to investigate the organization and find out how you can get some of New York's best and Washington's best musicians. So until the next time, ciao bella.